Most of us know that we don't have all of the answers. Most of us know that life is largely a mystery, that we can't predict what's going to happen next, that nothing is guaranteed. But most of us at the same time are spending disproportionate amounts of energy trying to manage the experience, trying to create guidelines and rules and techniques and rituals to frame ourselves in so that the mystery of life becomes somehow less mysterious, more predictable. And for the most part, we can get away with it because everyone else is playing the same game. Most of the time without realizing that they're doing so, because it's so ingrained in us, so ingrained in the people around us, that to wear the work face or the family face or the relationship face or the friendship face, that's just what you do, right? That's the normal thing. But perhaps it's not. Perhaps it's not normal. Perhaps it's just familiar. Perhaps there's something else underneath that yearns to be expressed, and every time it doesn't, there's a sense of building frustration or irritation within us that says, this isn't who you are. This isn't what you really want to say. This isn't what you mean to say. And everyone around us knows that. Like, we can sense it in others when they're saying things, they're holding back, pretending. I'm not saying that from a place of damnation, like it's wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. But there's an alternative. At first, the alternative feels exposing. It feels like walking around naked. Like everyone can see how ill-equipped we are to prepare with the life that we have found our way into somehow. How little we know of how things work. But to actually live in that way, well, you could argue that it's the only true way to live. And by true, I don't mean that there's a way that you do it, that there's some kind of prescription that anyone can give you that says this is how you live your life properly. It's more of an alignment to something inside of you that isn't that performance. And every time you realize that the performance is there, it starts to chip away at that. That's kind of hard at the beginning as well, because then all of a sudden you start thinking to yourself, well, who am I? And the more you ask the question, the more you have the chance to discover. Again, I can't tell you the answer to that. You have to discover it for yourself. I'm just encouraging you to ask the question. But it's terribly draining wearing that mask, multiple masks. I mentioned on a previous video that it seems to me that the majority of the mental health issues, the struggles, the illnesses, the challenges that we face are because we are living as the mask. We have created this idea of ourselves that we think the world should respond to, and we've built a life around that, and that life is fundamentally unsustainable because to be in the mode of performance constantly is extremely draining. Like, even actors need time off. But when the act is your life and you don't get time off, the only time that tends to come is when you either take too much of something and it blasts you out of your mind, or you get really sick and you just literally have to turn off for a bit. And there are very few people in the world who will be able to see you for what you are without trying to change you. This is the other thing, like, so much of personal development says you have to become more than what you are. Well, how can you do that? You're already enough. It's not about becoming more. It's about discovering that most of what you take yourself to be is not true to you. It's either inherited or learned. And most of spiritual development, at least most of what you're going to see on the internet, on YouTube, is it's founded on this basis that, oh, you can find your true self and life will be eternally peaceful. And you can go and spend some time with a guru or a teacher or some enlightened master that's going to transmit you the ultimate answer to life, and all of a sudden now you're enlightened, everything makes sense. And that doesn't also work. Like, it's somewhere between the two, in truth, at least as it seems to me. Bettering yourself isn't about making things better. It's about recognizing that most of the time the things that we do are actively not helping, and just to stop doing those, and to recognize that most of the time we're doing those things because there is an inherent fear inside of us that says, well, when we stop doing those things, everything will fall apart. And yeah, maybe it will. But is it stuff that you really want in the first place? The hardest part is managing the gap between stopping the performance and allowing life to recalibrate, or just witnessing the recalibration. And the spiritual part is also valuable. Like, it's useful to look at, to see where inside of you there is something that's stable, that's not subject to the performance, like the thing behind the performance that's seeing this performance going on and going, that's not me. There isn't a narrator, but if it were, that's what it would say. It's more of a felt sense. Both have their place, but the answer doesn't lie in either of those things. Like, those are just ways of describing. In the same way that describing a tree doesn't really capture a tree. I'm surrounded by trees here, you can see them all. Every single one of them looks different, it has a different form, it's in a different stage of growth. But that's not the essence of the tree, it's just the word to describe the thing. There's more than that. And I'm not coming to you because I think that there is an answer I can give you, or that anyone can give you, that will solve the challenge or the opportunity to stop performing your life. Simply just to observe. That's my intention for this video, is to help you become slightly better at observing the performance, recognizing how draining that performance is, and the more misaligned that performance is with the truth of who you are, the more draining your life is. Like, if you are a creative person and you love making things with your hands, or singing or dancing, and you are working in some kind of structured office job where you literally just have to copy and paste data from one place to another, and again, nothing wrong with that, plenty of people like doing that, and you're pretending to love that and you don't, then that's hard. That's not something that you're going to find easy. It's not something you're going to look forward to every day. It's not something you're going to want to do for a long time. But the more you do it, the more your life becomes organized around that. And then at some point, some of us do get to that point where we forget that actually what we really want to do and what we're doing are not aligned, and the performance becomes so ingrained within us that we lose touch with the truth of who we are. We stop asking those questions and we start to just kind of coast. We give up, if you like. You can tell when you meet people who have got to that point where they just kind of resign themselves to the life that they have. Well, this is fine. Is it? Is it really fine, or is it just tolerable? Is it even tolerable? I don't know. Again, no criticism here. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's the choice that you have actively made consciously, and if you can bring that into awareness and go, yes, this is the life I actively choose and I'm okay with that, great. But I don't think that's the case for many of us. So if you're at that point, and you can tell if you're at that point where the invitation exists to start looking behind the performance, or to allow yourself to be seen without the mask, it's because life just feels kind of off. It feels unfulfilling. You might have lots of good things going on objectively. You might have a great relationship, career, stuff. You might be in great health, but if your experience of life is neutral at best, occasionally good when you have a child or you buy a new car or you go on holiday, then there's probably an opportunity there for you to start considering asking that question. Again, I'm not here to force anyone. It makes no difference to me whether anybody else does that or not. But the fact is, it's an opportunity. And therapy does not ask us that question. And nor does it allow for the truth of the answer, because sometimes the answer is messy and uncomfortable and there isn't a framework or a structure within which that can be fitted. Again, not saying that as a criticism. Therapy is a construct of the mind. It's something that we have created to manage the unknown of infinite potential, which is the human experience. And you can't do that with a book or a technique or steps. You can do some of it very well, yes. But to go further than that, you have to be in that place where you truly don't know. And to be willing to discover that perhaps the unknown is messy and uncomfortable sometimes. And to be in the company of others who have also discovered this and aren't going to judge you if you do decide, yeah, I'm going to stick with the life I've built even though I'm not happy with it. And to not judge you for that. But also equally, people who don't try and steer you in one direction or another as you start to discover what that looks like and feels like inside of you. Because no one can tell you. I can't tell you. No one can. No one knows what the truth of your expression, the depth of your expression will look like in that place of alignment with what is behind the mask you wear. No one can tell you that. There are qualities to it, such as the absence of resistance or the absence of suffering the experience. Not completely, it comes back. To be aligned with yourself and oriented towards what's true for you is comfortable. Comfortable in the way, not comfortable in the way like sitting in front of the television on the sofa is comfortable, but comfortable in the sense of like, this is me. I am at home in myself. There is a sense of peace. Even if the experience is uncomfortable, there is something behind that which recognizes that at least it's my experience. It's not the experience that I'm performing because I have to, because that's what's expected of me, because I'm wearing the suit and tie today, or I'm wearing the mum or dad clothes today, and I have to give the impression to my children that my life is great when it's not. You know, we're at a point in time where technology is advancing so quickly that we have this enormous opportunity to take away a huge layer of human labour. Menial things, which none of us really love doing. And we're afraid of what the space will reveal because we're thinking about the negatives as in, I'm going to lose my job. It statistically, even though there are more jobs being created than destroyed, Or what's this going to mean for all of the stuff that I've learned over the course of my career? Well, maybe there's an invitation to ask a different question, which is, if I don't have to perform labor, if my life is not involved in doing routine structured stuff, maybe there is some space to discover what's behind that. Maybe there is some space for all of us to ask ourselves different questions about whether or not this life that we are trying to convince others we have is so great, or if we're just looking for someone else's permission to be happy or to feel like we're enough, because at some point we have learned that who and what we are without the mask is in some way defective, and that we have to perform value. I certainly have. I've spent most of my life not realizing that that was the thing that I really wanted. Spending most of my life performing in various ways and then fearing the inevitable falling apart. And just chipping away at that piece by piece. It's not like it's not there completely. It's not like we don't all slip into the mode of performance from time to time if we're pressed really hard. But that's okay. Another dimension of living, a deeper dimension of experience, is hardly something to be afraid of. It's hardly something to be undesirable when so many of us are living unfulfilled lives. And to free up some of the energy, some of the effort, by not trying so hard to be someone that we aren't, gives us a lot of creative energy to actually ask ourselves constructive questions. Well, what do I want to do with my life? Who do I want to spend my time with? What do I truthfully enjoy when no one is looking? Or what would I enjoy if everybody just approved of me? Any question that you like that essentially gives you space to think. And then think about how constructive it would be if you lived your life that way, and then you find yourself in places where you're interacting with other people, or raising children, or spending time with your friends or your loved ones. How much more capacity you have when you're not trying to remember who you're trying to convince people that you are. It's hard for me to even say it because it just doesn't make sense. You can do this for yourself. It doesn't cost anything. Apart from the life that may not have been meant for you. And for some, that's a cost that's not worth paying. Fundamentally, everything that you are when you came into this world is still there with you, regardless of what you've learned on top or put on top or been led to believe is true about you. Everything that you had from the day you entered this world will be with you until the day that you leave this world. And if you wish to reconnect with that, then you start to experience the possibility of depth and colour and expansiveness and possibility for yourself and for those around you. And I would argue that there's nothing worth considering more than that. Everything else will come and go. But the truth of who we are, the heart, if you call it that, it never stops speaking to us. It's just that sometimes we like to walk around with our fingers in our ears And if we take them out for a second, even if nothing is immediately apparent, the nothing is still better, surely, than the voice or the noise of the voice that says you need to be more than what you are because there's something wrong with you. Food for thought. Well, thanks for sticking with me so far. I shall see you soon.